All right, I want to welcome everyone to today's live stream. Today is Thursday, February 2nd. Welcome to the Personal Injury Marketing Group, helping chiropractors and doctors get more personal injury patients. Today is a special day. We're doing something a little different. I'm so honored and lucky to have a special guest with me, Dr. Travis Vaughn from Washington State. He actually bought the program in 2020 with your partner. Hey there, Travis. Welcome to today's live stream. Thank you so much for doing this today. Why don't you tell everyone here a little bit about where you were in practice, and are you still with your partner, Joe?
So that office, we don't have that office now. During the pandemic, we had an associate doctor that we lost, and unfortunately in Washington, the pandemic drove doctors out of our state. And so we were unable to find another doctor, which was sad because we had to let a practice close that was very busy.
Which is crazy to me because especially for personal injury, because the PIP in Washington State is great.
The associate pay was great. The bonus structure was great. Yeah, and we still have that issue trying to find doctors here. It's really hard. That's just, hopefully we can get out of that because I'm opening offices as fast as I can find associates. So
that's great. So let's go back to 2020. Tell me what was going on in your practice. And so you mentioned that COVID kind of wiped out an office because you couldn't find a doctor. But what did your personal injury business look like at that time?
So in 2020, about not talking about the office that we had to close, that was just a satellite clinic. In my main office, about 80% of my business was personal injury patients. And then COVID hit, and overnight I had 20 active cases that just stopped coming in because they were scared, or 80 to 90% of my business is Latino. And so instantly in Washington, compared to other states, I understand that we have higher case value. So my case value is about, at that time, $7,000 a case is our average case value. So, and my income reflected an exactly $140,000 difference in revenue.
Yeah.
So, COVID hits, right? I lose all these cases, and then kind of scrambling. Well, what do we do, to get more people in the COVID situation, right? And marketing sources that I'd used before weren't producing. And so, we ended up buying with my partner. We bought your program. And then with the pandemic, it was kind of like a twilight zone, right? Like, we've got to take action. Well, how do we take action? And then, we came in contact with you and bought the program and didn't take action right away. Actually,
you took some action. You took an action, yes, but you didn't do the rest of the action. Yes.
Correct.
And so you didn't take action in the program. And then I think you reached out to me, Travis, I got to tell you, it was 2022. And
by the time we hired someone was 2022. Correct.
Yeah. So then you reached out to me again. You said, Mark, we got to do something. I got to get in your program. In all honesty, I haven't started it. Yeah. So tell me about what happened after that discussion.
So of course, so I call you and then you give me some guidance, and we post the ads, which, to be fair, you made that really easy for us, right? We kind of copied and pasted what you told us to look for. And went on the search.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No, that was like, I gave it to my office managers, hey, can you post this on Indeed? We posted it. We started looking for people. And then I did find a liaison. Mm-hmm. And we, had her trained with the videos and had her start working. She didn't start working until, I want to say January 31st of 2022 was when she started,
okay,
right at the end of January. And so, with your training and, the KPI chart, all that other stuff, we just had her start doing what you taught in the videos. And I literally just said, hey, listen, her name was Brittany at that time.
Yeah.
Brittany, I don't know. I only know what I've learned from Mark, but I know that if we take action, that positive things are going to happen, because that's just as a given. I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I know that if you just put energy out there, you're going to get some back.
Yeah. Outflow equals inflow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she started taking action. She followed the KPI chart. And what happened from there? Let's go.
So February, we didn't, because she started in February with the training and stuff, I guess end of January, beginning of February. In February, I think we got a couple referrals from like existing kind of relationships that I had. And then in March, it was like a light switch turned on. I think we got 12 referrals and I'm like, what in the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And to be fair, you know, now, so that liaison actually moved on, like quit while I was on vacation. It was kind of heartbreaking, hurt my feelings a little bit.
Good times.
But what I've learned now that I have another liaison, well, I have a couple liaisons now, is that all that liaison did was she followed your program and she got all the low hanging fruit. And that led to 12 referrals on month 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I've been spending, you know, thousands of dollars on other marketing sources for years that might get a decent case in. A lot of times it's junk. In these cases, I found that the quality was so much better because attorneys were, you know, referring. And it wasn't, I just think that the basic thing, the fact that, you know, we kept in touch with these attorneys, she was scheduling lunches. At that time, I was doing 2 lunches a week, which I'd never done before, right? I'd actually kind of avoided if, you know, maybe an attorney that was subpar wanted to meet with me. I'm like, yeah, they just want my business, but they're not good.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste the, you know, an hour lunch.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it was, I will say this, her action and, you know, looking back is like, she could have been better, but even though she wasn't fantastic, if I get 12 referrals a month in Washington and my case value now is 8,000 to 10,000, do the math. Like,
that's significant revenue.
Yes. Like
right.
It can make you lazy pretty easy if you're not careful.
Yeah. And again, Washington has about $20,000 a PIP. Does that sound right or more?
It's 10,000 PIP, but the third party minimum is 25 grand. So about 50% of my cases have PIP and 50% of third party. And I don't care either way, to be honest.
Sure. Yeah. But, you know, a lot of states don't have that. So
no.
Congratulations on making an empowered decision to get in my program and start creating these connections that fill your practice with PI patients.
Absolutely.
And if they don't know you, Grant Cardone says this, if they don't know you, they don't flow you. In other words, these attorneys are going to send their clients to people that they know, they like, they trust, that have good documentation, know how to diagnose a PI case properly, and are easy to work with. Let me ask you this, Travis, because this is one of the main pushbacks I get, or the main pain point of the chiropractors is at negotiation time. So if there's money left over after PIP, do you have to do any negotiating with these attorneys?
I do not. I will say, if I have 10, no, I don't have attorneys. If I have an attorney ask me for a reduction, that's an outlier. And to be fair, I have spent a lot of time correcting my documentation. I mean, I prepare every case to go to trial. I take it serious. And so I have knowledge, and I associate with other chiropractors that are expert witnesses that are well-known in the legal arena. And so those are the people I've used. I have one guy who's, you know, 2 brothers that are the top expert witnesses in the state of Washington, and they're known by all the good attorneys. Well, guess what? I just flew to Seattle this week and I had a couple appointments with attorneys, and guess who I brought with me? Right. And so now it's Dr. So-and-so and Dr. Vaughn. And now I've got the in, because they know that if this guy who's legit isn't going to spend time with me, if I'm not legit, but I took the time to learn from an expert, but I already knew that before I knew you. Right. And so it doesn't matter what you know if you don't get out in front. And so what the liaison has done for me is given me the ability. She schedules my appointments. I literally, you know, Tuesday morning, I was on a flight at 6 a.m. I land in Seattle at 7. I got an appointment at 8:30. I got an appointment at 10:30. You know, I'm like, and we stack these appointments, and these attorneys who haven't heard of me on the east side, because I have an office I just bought on the west side too in
Okay.
Tacoma. So now guess what? I'm getting referrals from attorneys that I never, pre-pandemic, I did not have cases with attorneys on the other side of the state. Now I'm actually getting more referrals from attorneys over in the Seattle area for my East Side clinic that I would have never gotten had I not had a liaison reaching out. And from what you know, thinking outside the box, that it's not a 5 or 10 mile radius anymore.
That's right. The demographics or the geography of the law firms doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it's over.
These law firms have figured out how to have a virtual office. So how far are you from Seattle? I mean, it's a plane ride.
Yeah, so it's an hour plane ride, but it's about 300 miles driving.
Right. But this program gave you the ability to reach out to attorneys in Seattle who are marketing in your backyard, and they get clients in your backyard. And because you have this ability to create these connections with attorneys, not only within a 5 to 10 mile radius of your physical location, but now you have the ability to reach attorneys all over the state of Washington who may be marketing in your backyard.
Yeah.
And it's easy to find. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Today I had an attorney call me, and I'm different, right? Like I give them my cell phone number. And if like I'm trading today and I see that my phone is ringing, oh, hold on, Mary, there's an attorney, and they're all auto accidents. So they like that I talk to an attorney, right?
Yeah.
I've got to take this call real quick. And it's my attorney's like, hey, Dr. Vaughn, so you have an office in Yakima, which is an hour from Kennewick towards Seattle. Yeah. I said, yeah, I've got a doctor there who he's worked with me for 6 years, and I've trained him. He does things the way I do things. He's like, well, I've got a rollover case, great policy, because he knows that I have an office in Yakima. He didn't call the Yakima office, right? He called me.
Yeah.
Which if I didn't have the liaison, like all of this knowledge that I've gained, I wouldn't be able to share if I didn't have someone, because I don't have time to make appointments. I don't have time, to do those things that we need to do to grow, if that makes sense.
Totally. So your liaison has access, like in a streamlined workflow, to your calendar. So your marketer can schedule things for you while you're busy. I'm sorry?
They control my calendar.
They control your calendar. So while you're busy taking care of patients and doing the CEO duties of your multiple locations, you have a dedicated person whose sole job is to book meetings, lunches, Zoom calls on your calendar with the people that are going to be sending you personal injury cases.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. So I've got February 21st, for example. I just pulled up my calendar since you brought that up. I fly into Seattle at 7 a.m. At 9 a.m. I have a meeting with an attorney. At 10 a.m. I have a meeting with another attorney. At 11:30 I have a meeting with another attorney. From 1 to 2 I have another meeting with another attorney. And then Friday the 24th I have my liaison. We have a continuing legal education that I'm speaking, this will be the third one I've done, and that's been a game changer. But if I didn't have a liaison to schedule this stuff for me, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. So that's awesome, Travis. And I heard this, you talked about this earlier. You've tried other marketing companies, other marketing strategies. And believe me, I have too. And I heard one of my cohorts say, yeah, I've got PTSD from marketing strategies.
That's the truth.
But this program is all about relationship creation, relationship nurturing. And those relationships are what fills how many, do you have 3 offices or 4?
So I market, so I have a business partner on my Tacoma office. So we have 4 offices that we're all affiliated, if that makes sense. So
yeah, I got you. So, so there's 4 offices under the umbrella of your corporation or
yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so all these attorneys like that you have this big footprint in Washington State.
Yes.
And are you integrated, by the way?
What do you mean by integrated? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Do you have like a physician assistant who does injections, or do you have a neurologist? So it's DC only in your offices.
DC only, but we manage our cases where I make sure I have a medical doctor on my case. I mean, I'm not very friendly to other providers if they don't do things the right way, if that makes sense. And so attorneys like that, when I call them and I say, I use this specialist, I only use specialists that are willing to testify at trial.
Okay. Yeah.
Period. I don't care if you're a great surgeon. If you're not going to talk to the attorney about the case without charging them $2,500, I will never refer to you, because is that the best for the patient? Do you really care about the patient if you're doing that?
That's
It
right.
doesn't cost me 5 minutes of my time.
And the fact that you reach out to the attorneys and share that with them, I'm sure they appreciate, because secondly, they don't want you making a referral to a medical specialist that they don't have a really good relationship with.
That can burn a bridge so fast.
You got that right. I know doctors, and I'm in Atlanta. There are doctors in this city, and if chiropractors who get patients referred to them from attorneys, if they send a client that they got referred by an attorney to a physician that they don't have a relationship, or that they just flat out hate,
Yeah.
relationship over.
Yeah.
So
And
that
that just comes to,
communication,
yeah, communicate. So if I, need to send a physiatrist, for example, for, a medial branch block or whatever, because we have a facet joint injury, I'm going to call the attorney first and say, hey, I did a re-examination on Mary today, and I think that we need to have a physiatrist see her. I will say in Washington, over half the time they are surprised that a chiropractor would even call them. And then they're amazed, like, what? Oh, you work with this doctor? I'm like, yeah. And you work with this, concussion clinic? Yeah. You can hear it through their voice, like, oh, we're dealing with someone who knows what the heck they're doing.
totally.
And then and that's why I'm expanding, right? Because I literally have attorneys who tell me, which you taught me. So I've listened to that. I used to think if an attorney says you need an open office here, oh, then I need to. Well, you've taught me otherwise. I need quite a few attorneys telling me that before I.
That's right. That's right.
Go
Don't listen
spend
to
the
one
money.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I'm excited. We've got a good buzz going. I have 2 liaisons now, one for the east side and one for the west side. Could I have one do all of them? Maybe. That's just how I logistically like it,
Yeah.
because I want my liaison to even meet people in person too. And
Yeah, it's all about FaceTime. And listen, this isn't about walking into a law firm, walking to the front desk and, dropping off some documents, some marketing material.
yeah.
You can hire a high school student to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The marketer needs to be engaged, asking the names of the front desk people. It's all about making friends and creating relationships.
Yeah.
And those relationships, Travis, they're evergreen, meaning as long as you don't drop the ball, as long as you keep your side of the street clean, you'll have this law firm referring to you ongoing, as long as you're practicing, and as long as and really your own expenses. None of this involves any digital marketing. Like, you're not paying for ads on social media, ads on Google, or anything like that. The only thing you're really paying for is your marketing liaisons and a few lunches.
That's it.
Yeah. But that $50 lunch, or even $100 lunch, in your case, if it turns into one client, pays for lunches for the next 365 days for you.
Absolutely. And I will say this, before I did your program, I was using, like lead generation companies, which, historically were really good, but since the pandemic, or even before the pandemic, it's super stressful.
I get it. And go ahead and finish. Yeah.
And I will say, when I run my QuickBooks report and I'm looking at my, what did I spend on marketing last year? It feels really good to be like, well, I spent $100,000 less on marketing, but my revenue went up by $40,000. Well, it really went up more than 40 grand, right? Because my marketing budget was decreased significantly, and I'm getting better quality. So my practice is less stressful now.
So your marketing expenses went down.
Yeah.
Revenue went up. Mm-hmm. And what did that do to net profit of your company in 2022?
So my net profit went up. Of course, Washington is you have to spend a lot more for employees. And so with inflation and, trying to keep people and providing benefits, I tend to give more to my employees. I have a different mindset, which is if we all win, it's better for the business. I'm okay living on what I live on.
Yeah.
And then just building other practices. My personality is a little different. If I can open a practice from scratch and create 5 jobs, screw you, government. I just created something from nothing without your help. And I'm paying you taxes.
Yeah. Do you offer benefits to your employees? Is that what you're talking about?
So in one of my offices, I do, benefits, retirement, and that has eaten into my profit. I probably would have profited another 50 grand last year.
Okay.
But that's okay. You know, I had my office manager who went out on medical leave and had to have life-saving surgery. She would have had a $350,000 bill, but because we had benefits, she had a $10,000 bill after deductible.
That's awesome. And secondly, what was I going to say here? Oh yeah, because staffing is a huge issue now, not just in chiropractic offices, but
Everywhere.
staffing is an issue. Finding good people to work and be loyal is very tough. So paying extra for good people that stay saves you a lot of mental energy trying to figure out how to fill that position. If you hired somebody cheap, they're terrible, and they leave, and you got to find someone again. So great point to make there, Travis. Yeah, finding good people and keeping them, that's the name of the game.
Yep.
For staffing. All right, so tell me what you don't have to give me numbers, but tell me what your volume looks like, a year later after you really dug into my program and now you have 2 liaisons. What does the volume of new PI patients look like coming into your locations now?
So the volume, so we had really good volume, and then in the summertime, when was that? After a few months, that my original liaison, she's a young out of college. She just like, I'm on vacation. She says, hey, I'm resigning. Like, you couldn't have waited like 3 days. I'm on vacation. I literally left my family vacation early because it stressed me out. Right.
Yeah.
But so that, obviously the numbers went down a little bit because we didn't have a liaison, and I was really careful, and I spoke with you. I was really careful on who I hired after that.
Yeah.
And so now we've got our liaison, who one of them just started on the West Side like a month ago. And then my other one's been with me for about 3 months. So we're seeing, I want to say, without bumping out of my, right now I think last month we got like 6 or 8 referrals, which is still fantastic for where I live.
Yeah.
And it kind of, what I notice is like, we might have a huge month where we get, 10, 12, 13, 14 referrals. And then the next month, 3 or 4 or 5. And then, but that for me, I mean, in Washington, and I feel bad because I know other states don't have, we're pretty spoiled here, right?
Yes, you are.
And so for me, if I see 100 and like this week, I'm probably going to see about 130 visits, but 100 of them are PI visits, right? 110 of them. And if my per visit is $100 to $150, do the math. Like,
yeah. And
I don't need to see 250 visits a week.
Right. And you build that PIP so it's coming in every 30 to 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then half my patients might not have PIP, but I have enough volume that it's basically, I'm getting 2, 3, 4, 5 third-party checks a month, and it feels pretty good to get an $8,000 check.
Yeah, I bet.
So, and I say that
better than not getting an $8,000 check. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And I would say if I wasn't doing your program, I wouldn't have the volume that I do right now, nor the confidence. Like, it's a big risk. I close my office 1 or 2 days a month to go over and market to the other side of the mountains because the value's there, right? Like, it's so worth it for me to not, okay, I didn't see 30 patients that day, that afternoon, whatever. I'm going to get 5 or 10 referrals from this.
And each referral for you is $8,000 to $10,000.
Yes.
That you collect 30 to 45 days after you deliver the service.
Yeah. As month over month, that's kind of how it works. My goal, if I'm collecting 50, 60 grand a month, that's kind of where I want to be, and I know I can grow that more, and we're working on that. And that's why we do these extra things like continuing legal education to show them. I mean, this one on the 24th is going to knock people's socks off. We were able to get, without even filing a lawsuit, my bill was $9,000. We had a medical doctor on the case with a physiatry. We got 4 times meds. Like,
awesome.
8 months after the crash, Mark.
Nice.
Nice. Which is,
well, this relationship creation is one thing, but you also have to have your documentation dialed down. It's not just about meeting attorneys. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know your documentation, your diagnosis, because if you don't have the right diagnoses, or just not enough diagnoses, or the diagnoses that are not value drivers for the case, it's hard to get paid in this industry.
Absolutely.
So that, yeah. Well, Dr. Vaughn, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your Thursday and joining me on this live stream to tell a little bit about your story. And just to reiterate, what really started to turn around for you is when you started taking massive action on your goals and making them non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
And having me kicking you in the pants when you got that phone call, just said, hey man, when you do this, it will work. Trust the process.
Yeah.
You don't have to think, you just have to follow the process.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah. And the way that I hold myself accountable is I don't control my calendar. I tell my liaison, these are the days I'm available. You do not even have to check with me. Fill my calendar, and that holds me accountable, right? I know that on the 21st, I have to go. I know that on the 24th, my slideshow better be rocking, and I better deliver the goods because she's delivered the people to me, right?
Yeah.
That's because if I was responsible for my calendar, I'll make excuses. I know myself.
Right.
I've got 6 children. Like, my life is an excuse. So,
well, 6 kids, I'm sure keeps you busy, but we have to feed all those kids. So work is important, and making your meetings non-negotiable is just going to help you grow your practice even more, give you the comfort, the security, taking care of your family. And I'm sure your family is a big value driver as to why you do what you do to grow your practice. Because that's what's going to send them to college, keep a roof over their head, and maybe even working a few vacations a year with your family. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, Travis, again, thank you so much for joining me today on this interview. First of all, I'm proud of you for taking the action, even though it took you a year to get started. Yeah. But I'm proud of you for taking the action. I'm so glad you're getting the results. It's not because of me. I just gave you the framework, but if you don't use it, it's not going to work. But when you use it, things will start to happen for your practice. And again, the success can be evergreen because these people are going to keep feeding you as long as you keep your side of the street clean. Whereas paid ads, when you stop paying for paid marketing, your phone stops ringing and you haven't made any relationships with the people that can send you more PI. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Travis, before we end it here, and by the way, if you want a copy of this video, if you want to replay, type the word Travis in the comments below, and I'll send you a link to this video. Dr. Vaughn, any final comments, anything you want to add before we sign off for today? I would just say, for people who are hesitant or maybe don't have the confidence, the reality is all you have to do is take the action, right? You can be terrible, but if you meet with X amount of attorneys, you're going to meet one who says, you know what, I like that guy. That he took the time. I met with an attorney who said, you know, I had a guy who brought cookies in, and I thought, you know what, I'll send him a case because he's grinding. I can respect someone who grinds. Well, it turns out that guy didn't do a great job with case management. But my point is, just by taking action, you will get results. It's a numbers game, right? Yeah, that's right. And I'm grateful for that, you know, your program really kind of made that easy with the training of the liaison, because if I had to do that myself, I would have been, I don't know, figure it out. It's not easy. No. Yeah. And so, I mean, you try to say you're giving me credit, but it's your program that did it for me. And I literally, when I train my liaisons, it's like, here's the videos, listen. And if they have a question I don't know, I'll say, ask Mark or ask the Facebook group, or I'll ask you, right? Yeah. So. And let's talk about that. Whenever you do ask me a question or reach out to me, even if I'm busy, tell me about my response time or anything like when you reached out. Anytime I've reached out to you, I usually get, if I message you on Messenger, you usually say, here's a calendar, schedule a time. And I've scheduled the time within 2 hours of talking to you. So it's never been hard to get a hold of you, Mark. And I know we've talked about this. I kind of feel guilty because I feel like the value of what you've provided for me, I've gotten, the return on investment is ridiculous. Like, yeah. You know, yeah. You sold me a Mercedes for the price of a 99 Civic. So right. Let me give you my Venmo real quick, Travis. Yeah. I got to talk to my wife. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, Travis, again, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I value your time. I'm so happy you're getting success in the program. Even though I sold you a Mercedes for the price of a Pinto, the value of you doing this video and me posting it and sharing it with people and sharing your story is worth it for me. It's the price of a Mercedes coming in this direction to me. So thank you for that.
All right, Mark. Thank you.
All right, Travis, have a great rest of the day. Everybody, we'll be back here next Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern for another live stream. And everyone give a shout out to Dr. Travis Vaughn up there in Washington State. Pretty much the furthest point from where I'm standing because I'm in Atlanta. But that just proves we're in a digital society now. You can have conversations with attorneys far away from your office and they can be sending you cases. They don't have to be a 10-minute drive from your office.
Right.
This lesson. All right. Travis, thanks a lot. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you next week. Thanks again.
Bye.